Although I am losing hope because it seems like we have lost the battle to the self-ID people, and that really, really sucks. And I don't even know what to do about that other than, like, I guess fight back against it and get called transphobic over and over again. But I do want to ask you, have you ever considered that perhaps your view on these things is maybe a little bit tainted by...
I feel like everybody in politics is like everybody's political position these days, maybe this has always been the case, is literally defined in opposition to whoever triggered them last.
Let's say Nathan transitioned.
I saw your video about the Pride Month thingy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna, because Mindwaves came in and already said all the same shit that I already would have said.
Okay.
Like, I'm not a fan of the throw the baby out with the bathwater approach, although I am losing hope because it seems like we have lost the battle to the self-ID people, and that really, really sucks. And I don't even know what to do about that other than, like, I guess fight back against it and get called transphobic over and over again. But I do want to ask you, have you ever considered that perhaps your view on these things is maybe a little bit tainted by all the bullshit that you see on Twitter? And I understand that it's very hard not to get tainted by that because there's a lot of stupid bullshit on Twitter.
Well, I mean, like my views on this are largely informed by like the public's views on this, I think, because it's kind of what I have to think about it. Like if we were to talk about like pride shirts like 2 or 3 years ago, I don't know if I would have given as much of a because it's like, what does pride mean? What did pride mean like 5 years ago? I mean, you were like pro gay marriage, which is like, I mean, like that should probably be almost a core liberal value, right? That's like a pretty standard, easy thing. But like now when we say pride, we're really talking about trans stuff and puberty blockers for kids. That's really like what the whole conversation today is. And that ground is fraught with a lot more problems. So to like, I just feel like having that like now being fought about in schools and with kids clothes and everything is like, I don't know. I just think it's not a good meme, but.
I mean, okay, like I agree with you about like the kid thing. Like it is cringe to like use kids for like
contentious political things, yeah.
Yeah, or even just political props in general, really, depending on.
I mean, I think there's probably like some kids, like if you want to dress your kid up in like a Jesus shirt or like an American flag or whatever. I mean, like.
Well, yeah, I don't. If it's an American flag, I don't give a. I mean, I guess a Jesus shirt, although that's kind of. I mean. For some of those shirts, though, like I feel like depending on where those kids lived, if they went to school, like they're basically just asking or to get made fun of, or their parents are setting them up to get made fun of, which is really pretty shitty, honestly. Like, but I don't. I'm like the fuck. I feel like I just lost it. God damn it. This is not.
You were talking about you don't think that it's bad for kids to wear like a flag shirt if they want to. You were mentioning pride shirts and kids, whether that was okay or not.
No, the other thing about like, I guess, whose fault do you think it is that like trans shit has become such a big issue now? I kind of want to blame conservatives, but I know that it is at least partly the left's fault.
I feel like everybody in politics is like everybody's political position these days, maybe this has always been the case, is literally defined in opposition to whoever triggered them last. Like the whole red pill movement is basically like, it feels like a bunch of guys that got shot down by girls at some point that now hate women. I feel like for a lot of the trans stuff, it's, you know, conservatives fucking hated even gay marriage. They fought against initially, right? Obviously, and then you had like the Colorado baker guy that was over a gay cake, right? That wasn't a trans cake, right? Wasn't that a gay cake?
No, it was a gay cake.
Yeah. So like conservatives fought against that. You know, people on the left got super triggered. They pushed really hard on their and now they've pushed like way too far on trans issues. So with kids, and now conservatives are getting triggered by that. And so like everybody just gets triggered by each other, and they go as far as they fucking can in the other direction. Essentially, that's what it feels like.
I mean, like. As you say it like that, yeah, you're not wrong, because like that's what happened when Roe v. Wade happened. Like that arguably was the catalyst that helped launch the entire, like the religious right was at least in part born off of that, especially like all these conservative women like Phyllis Schlafly and all these people who like wanted to like push for like the TradCon shit, and a lot of it was just like they killed the Equal Rights Amendment and all that, and like that was in like the 70s. So, I mean, yeah, that does seem to generally be the case. There's like a whole bunch of examples in American history that I can think of that are like that. So that's, yeah, I guess that's just how we're gonna be as humans. And I mean, it does suck. I don't know what
It doesn't have to be that way. I wish that like the people that did media or alternative media like me or whatever, I wish would just be a little bit less reactionary, because I think they do have a decently large pull on their audiences and they could get them to be less fucking insane about things, but...
Yeah, but that, it's more fun to stoke outrage, and also money. More
yeah, it's
people want
money,
to-
it's more fun, and it's more intellectually lazy. Like, you don't have to do any research or reading if it's just like, you know, opposition bad.
Yeah, basically. Fuck. There was like, I'll save one of the other things for next time, because I actually really wanted to ask you. So I've decided, I don't know if how well I'll be able to do it, because I have fucking ADHD, but I have jumped into the streaming ring. I went on Wick's panel the other night because there was a bunch of DGG women on. I don't know if you saw any of that or not. That LEB person did an interview with Wick.
Yeah, we fought a little on Twitter. I hate that fucking moron. She seems okay,
Yeah,
but we obviously have our issues, but yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I feel like my experience, like, and then afterwards there was like an open panel with a bunch of women from DGG who all came on, and like a bunch of them actually, except for like, it was just me and one other person who were saying, I don't feel like I've ever had a problem. And like, I really haven't, not really, but like some of these other people I guess have, which makes sense. But I've been here since like 2017. Maybe it's because I lurk and don't really interact that much, except for when the Rust server came out. But like, are you still actively working on the anti-misogyny arc, or is that just a thing that you kind of...
No, we were past that. We've cured misogyny in my community. No, I mean, it was something we focused on a lot at one point. I think the community got quite a bit better at it, and now I'm not like, it's not like an active campaign, but it's always something I look out for. I look out for.
Okay.
So if I see like crazy misogynistic comments, like I'll ban that, or if people say weird shit, we'll ban that. But it's not as much a problem as it was like a year or two ago when it was like getting insane. I mean, I'm sure there's still some that I don't say, and I probably do it every now and then, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, you probably don't remember this, but I went back a long ass time ago and I watched one of your videos when you were playing DayZ, because I had started playing DayZ at the time, and I looked at your chat and you ran into a girl and she was talking to you on voice chat in the game, and people were spamming like some really ridiculous shit. Like, this was from, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years ago probably. You would know better than me, like back when you were playing DayZ, or like you started playing DayZ again. You decided to jump back into it just to see what it was like after however many years of not playing it. So I mean, I don't know, like, it's definitely gotten better as it's gotten more liberal as well too, so
sure.
I mean, that's good. But
correct me if I'm wrong, but there was, for the whole N-word arc, you essentially told Trihex after he got mind fucked by Hassan that you weren't going to stop saying it even though he asked you as a friend, and that was because it compromised your values in some way?
Yeah, and because there's nobody in my life that I would let choose say, what the fuck? Choose, like, my vocabulary when they're not around me. That's wild.
Okay.
Especially for a prolific N-word enjoyer such as myself.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. That's not like a problem. I'm not even here to argue about that.
Good, I'm glad. I wouldn't even entertain the argument. Yeah, okay, push me.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I want to push you on that.
Yeah.
Let's say Nathan transitioned.
Okay.
Okay. And you liked making jokes about trannies and stuff like that. And he was like, Dad, listen, I'm not very comfortable with that. Can you stop making jokes about it? Would that still be okay? Like, would that be like, sorry, son, but listen, I don't compromise my values for nobody. Know how we're getting through it anyways? Or is that an instance where
I would say I won't do it around you? Why would anybody have an entitlement to somebody's language when they're not around?
It's like a comfortability thing, I think.
Comfort what? You don't know what the you're doing when you're not there?
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but it's like I think Hassan's argument of just lying about it, I think, was fine.
No, that's cringe. I think we should be able to accept and confront reality in all of its realities, okay? Not this whole like, oh, I'm gonna pretend that every single time I'm not around people, they're like the nicest, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's stupid. I don't like that.
I mean, that's fair. I don't think that's wrong. I just asked because I went through something kind of similar where instead of doing what you did, I essentially said, oh yeah, for sure, you're my friend. I just won't say it anymore.
Yikes,
I don't
bro.
think... Listen, dude, I don't think you're wrong. I think, honoring your values and stuff is fine. I just don't think I'm wrong either for choosing to respect something my friends asked me to do.
Really? Do you think lying is one of your values? How do you think your friends would care if you care, or how would they feel if they knew you lied?
I think that they just won't know that I lied.
Okay, so that's okay with your values? What if they heard you say that now?
Yeah.
What if they had a conversation with you and they said, would
they
you
don't
lie
like this,
about
they
it, or
won't.
would you stop doing it? Would you lie about that too? Now you're like in a never-ending pool of lies.
Yeah, but what's wrong with lying?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's
Yeah, what's wrong with
bad.
lying?
Well, what's wrong
What's
with
bad about
lying?
lying?
Sure. What's
Yeah.
wrong with lying is that language is one of the cornerstones, one of the most important things of all of human development, and the entire social network that we built up around each other relies on us being able to take each other's statements at face value. If society was built around the idea that everybody could lie at any point in time, it would be like probably the single most destructive thing that could ever happen in society. Truth is an incredibly important element of language and communication.
So then if I asked you right now if you lie, period, would you say yes or no?
I probably do, yeah.
Okay, so doesn't that then mean like, oh, well then he can lie at any point of time, and doesn't that just fall into the
No,
category
do you
of...
think that there's a difference between defending the principle of lying versus saying that sometimes you make a mistake and you lie?
I mean, I guess yes, but my argument...
Like, you understand
I
the difference between like peeing on the toilet seat on accident and defending the principle of pissing all over the toilet, right?
Okay, yes, I do understand the difference between that. I mean, I guess you're not wrong in some ways. It's just...
Avi, I'm not wrong in any way ever.
Shut up, dude. God, you're so cringe sometimes, I swear. I hope your hardcore character dies again. Alright, let's see. The second thing I gotta ask you is, so you mentioned that, you know, talking to women at the gym and then giving them an out is like an acceptable way to like potentially hit on somebody and talk to them. My question for you is, how many women did you pull prior to being famous? This isn't like an attack on you in any way, shape, or form. I'm just genuinely curious.
I mean, honestly, not many, but I was also like in relationships the whole time. So when I was 15, there was a girl that I like teenage hooked up with. Like, we only made out after school every day. We didn't go any farther because I was a fucking actual virgin. Then I dated one girl when I was 15 for like a couple weeks, and then I dated okay, hold on. There was a girl that I hooked up with after school. Then I dated her friend for a couple weeks, and then she found out she was a lesbian. And then I dated her friend for about 3 years, I think. That was my first wife. Then after that, I dated Rachel, who was my kid's mom. And then that was another 2 or 3 years. And then after that, I got into streaming. So I was always in relationships like 14, 15. So I don't know if I would have been single, if I would have had different, like,
well, then I guess my second question would just be like, how many women do you think, like, do you pick up without them knowing? And this is also under the assumption they don't look you up or stuff like that. So like, we can't like know that information, but like without
right now,
being like,
probably
I'm
almost
the
nobody.
Destiny.
But I'm also like, I'm not trying to pick up anybody.
Okay.
My whole life like revolves around work. And then if I'm traveling anywhere, then people are probably going to know who I am because I'm at like events or I'm at shows where people know who I am, right? I imagine like if I wanted to try picking people up, the most recent arc that I would have done it on is, I think now it's kind of cheating, but the place I get the most attention is usually girls in airports, because people will see my hair and they'll make a comment like, oh, I like your hair or whatever. Like that's like the most common, random comment I get. But
okay.
yeah.
The reason I just asked this is just because I know that you mentioned at like a prior point, like when I first started watching you, like closer to like 2020 during like the leftist arc and stuff, there was a situation talking about enthusiastic consent and how a lot of men are rapists, technically by the standard of like going across like enthusiastic consent and like talking about it and like not being super pushy and stuff like that. And you seem to hint that you may have been like under that category as well. And my question to you is, how do you get out of being under that category? Because I kind of went through like a phase of being like a fucking boy for a little bit, and I noticed myself doing a lot of like really toxic things, and I still kind of fall back onto that on occasion. And it seems like maybe you're not so much into like those boy areas anymore.
I mean, I'd like to think I'm not.
Yeah. So how do you get out of that?
I mean, it
pushiness
generally
and, like...
just involves like being like probably relatively straightforward with the girls that you talk to.
Okay.
Like if you find that you're like flexing, or not flexing, I'm sorry, bending the truth, or you're telling somebody something you think that they just want to hear because it increases your chance of them, that's probably not like a good thing. That's like fuckboy, right?
Fair enough. It is like it feels shitty, but like also at the same time it does, like, I will acknowledge, feel bad to just be like, hey, listen, I'm only interested in you for sex and that's it. knowing that it will tank my chances of talking to that individual.
Well, I mean, it
in the
depends on what
future.
they're looking for, and it depends on what you're looking for. It depends on your present.
Yeah.
Like when I was in California and I was on Tinder, like I had decent success rate hitting on people without them knowing who I was. Because when I was in California, I was trying to find girls that weren't into the online shit. But like every message that I sent on Tinder started off with like, hey, just, you know, I'm only looking for like short-term hookup stuff. Like I'm in a relationship. Are you interested? I think like probably like 40% of girls would unmatch me immediately, even though I had it in my profile. And then the conversation would start from there. But it's better to,
All right, that
I think
makes
it's better
sense.
to do that than to try to like maneuver your way through if like all your interests.
I think I
yeah.
just had a misunderstanding of the situation that you were going through, because the way I thought it was like, yeah, no, I walk up to these women and I go, hey, listen, I just want sex, and then they were like, yeah, absolutely, this is the way to go.
No, fuck no. I've
And
never
knowing-
there might
yeah,
be some people
knowing
that can do that,
it's,
but no.
yeah, knowing that it's like a 30-40% is like closer to like what I've experienced as well, trying to just be more upfront about situations and stuff like that.
Sure. And that's after all the girls that won't match with me because I have that like looking for short-term stuff in my Tinder profile. So
Okay, for sure. Okay, the third and final thing.
wait,
is
I
a bit
left a
more
yellow
philo-
on the ground? Where?
Oh my god, dude, that's so
Sorry.
fucking
Shut
crazy.
up.
Okay, listen, dog. I'm a necromancer, level 50 already, so get on my level, dog.
Yeah, okay.
Not hardcore though, so you know.
Good. Loser.
Final question is like a bit more philosophical.
Okay.
So I took shrooms a while ago, and during that trip, I kind of laid there, cocooned up in like a bunch of blankets and stuff.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking of like, how could I ever love a woman if I just
love
never
your
would
mom?
Yeah,
Oh.
well, no. If I just don't know what it's like to be a woman, and so I had to question myself whether or not I was gay for like 30 to 40 minutes during the entire trip.
Base.
And so my question to you is, how do you know who you are? Like, how do you know your thoughts are truly your thoughts and not just thoughts that you have because they either make you feel good or because those are the thoughts that you think you should have?
I don't know. There's not gonna be an easy answer to that question.
Yeah, I know. I've been talking to my friends a lot about this recently, and I was just curious if you had any insight.
I feel like to analyze this, you would have to look at like the particular thought you're thinking. Like for instance, if this was like a career choice, the way that I would analyze that would be a lot different than if it was like a partner choice, right?
Let's think about it as like a more internalized thing rather than like a career choice or something like that. Like more like your base values of like, let's say I'm not homophobic, but am I only not homophobic because I choose? I think it's like the right thing to do, or do I genuinely believe that it's okay to be gay?
I don't know, then think about it. I usually try to test my like mindset with like hypotheticals to see like how comfortable I feel with everything. So like for homophobic or transphobic, those are really good questions. When I think of like, am I homophobic or transphobic or anything, like I'll usually start thinking of, hold on.
Okay.
Okay, what I usually try to think of is like, I'll try to be more proximate to the thing to figure out like how I actually feel about it. So let's say I'll be like, okay, actually, you know what? I think gay people are chill. I'll try to think like, well, how would I feel like if I had a friend that came out as gay? Would that like change my relationship with them at all? Or maybe I'll think about like, what if my son was gay? Would that change how I feel about him? Would I be okay with that, right? And
Okay.
sometimes when you start testing on those grounds, hypothetically, you can stumble into some things where it's like, oh shit, like I realized that there is like a lot of stuff here that I wasn't fully aware of before just by kind of like bouncing around some hypotheticals, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, you can do the same thing with a lot of other things too, like career choices. Like if your parents like are, if you think you're going to school to be a lawyer or whatever, and you don't know if you want to do it, if your parents want to do it, you think like, what if my parents wanted me to do something else? Would I still be here? Or what if my parents want to be a doctor? Would I have been pre-med instead? Like, I mean, you can kind of, yeah, I don't know, like thinking through like a lot of hypotheticals or thought experiments will
Yeah.
help you.
My friends kind of gave me a slightly different answer, which was kind of just have conviction in your thoughts of just you're believing something, so you should just believe that you truly believe it instead of like.
Yeah, but that's
questioning those things.
boring.
It didn't really make me feel good.
Yeah,
it
because
made
like
me
you
feel,
can have a lot of conviction for
irritated.
shit. Like people look how much conviction people have over their religions, and it's like, what's the biggest predictor of the religious denomination you're in? It's your fucking parents, right? It's not you. Like you didn't
Yeah.
choose to be fucking Catholic. You were born into a
like
fucking Catholic
determinism and
family,
all that
bro.
shit, so.
Yeah. So.
Okay, yeah, I talked a little bit about this to Brittany Simon for a little bit too, about like knowing who you are truly, and trying to figure all that out. And so I appreciate the insight there. Are you ever gonna talk to her again?
You know, the universe is a mysterious thing, but not that mysterious, so probably not. But
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't listen. I love her. I don't blame you sometimes though.
Pick up the
She's
idol.
a great person, but As for your fucking show, dog, if you need more dudes, listen, I stream on Twitch. All right, I'm an affiliate. All right, I'll just make a Kick account real quick, and it'll just be that easy, baby. All right, keep me in mind.
Okay.
Other than that, hugs and kisses. See you later, buddy.
Love you, bud. Bye.
You recently did a video about like men getting divorced. Wondering if you changed your mind on it, or after like that debate with Alba and the lawyer, or what are your thoughts on that?
What are my thoughts?
On if men are actually disadvantaged in getting divorces, or do you think that's sort of just like a rumor or just like something that's made up?
No, I don't think men are generally disadvantaged in getting divorces. I mean, they might be, I guess, but if there's evidence for it, I haven't seen it yet, and nobody seems to care to even try to provide any.
So I guess like what you're harping on is that there isn't like enough studies or enough evidence. I know you showed that one study.
I just in terms of like all the survey, all the data, like it just seems like men tend to fare a bit better after divorce than women do. They earn more money. They've got a higher chance of getting back in relationships. Like,
yeah, that's not what I'm arguing about. I think like the whole outcomes thing, I think that's right. I think when the specific ones that Abba and the lawyer guy were harping on is the bias that courts might have against men. Feels like again, because there isn't like a lot of studies. You do have that one study, but it feels like there's a lot of experiences, or like men will say these things. Like we're having this problem. I guess like yeah, it hasn't been demonstrated statistically.
wait, what is the problem? Or hold on, wait, what are you asking me? Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm trying to figure out is like, do you just like with all the men saying this, do you just like not believe what men say, or?
Well, the vast majority
like,
of men talking about this have never even been married, let alone divorced, and fucked in a divorce. So.
So yeah, I guess the reason why I bring it up is like the one example I can think of is, let's say for women it's the Facetune stuff. Like that seems absolutely insane. Like I don't know if there are any studies behind it, but like when that claim is brought up, you sort of take that and you sort of accept that.
Wait, what am I accepting?
And the girl says that the Facetune stuff is detrimentally damaging to their mental health.
Yeah, there's a lot of research behind that. That's like, I think that's pretty well studied at this point, that social media like does a lot of harm, especially to teenage girls. I'm pretty sure you can Google, there's like 4 or 5 different like decently large studies on this at this point. I don't have any of them offhand, but that's a pretty well researched thing. But I mean, I would agree with a general claim like that probably when it comes to men too. So for instance, I think I even said this to Chris Williams. I think that in the future, although it's already kind of happened with roids, with how accessible like TRT is to a lot of people these days, I bet a lot of men are going to start to get body fucked, where you get people saying like, oh, here's like my all natty progression, 6 months, and people are getting like shredded in no time at all. That probably fucks with people's heads too.
Right. No, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that's the only thing I wanted to ask about that, because like apart from that, I think first of all, I've been like a fan since 2020, but the Red Pill stuff I think is more interesting because just because like I feel like that's so many guys, or just like in general, I don't even want to say guys, I think both men and women are going through this trial of like figuring out how to date. It's like, and it's crazy because it feels like they shit talk a lot about how they like men don't want these like quote unquote girls that work all the time. But I know in my personal like life, that's all what guys search for. And not only that, like the girls who don't work, like a couple of years ago, girls who didn't work, or like back then, girls who didn't work, they were maybe stay-at-home moms because that was just a culture. But now girls who don't work, they don't really do anything, right? So,
yeah, I know that's always been a hard thing for me to connect with, because in my lived experience, post high school, I was working class, and even in 2000, well, to be fair, it was 2007, so housing crisis, I had never heard of people dating where the woman doesn't work. Like that phenomenon didn't exist in my life. I'd never heard of that before. Like if you were dating, that both partners were working. That's just like the standard. At least in Omaha, Nebraska, that was the standard. Maybe in really wealthy families, that wasn't the case, but like the idea that there would be a girl, well, or you're going to school, right? But the idea that there would be a girl out of school who's like 20, 22, 25, who just doesn't have a job, that lived experience, I don't even know what I could comment about that. That didn't map onto any part of my life. That was just never true. But
and it's like a step further. Like these girls, like I know these girls who don't necessarily work right outside of high school. They're not like these like well-adjusted girls. They don't have their life together. They're pretty insane. Like that's why like somebody who actually has a career together is bringing something to the table. I feel like that's more of if more than anything, I feel like is desire. At least in like the East, or like the East isn't like the East of America, but like I guess like they just maybe Miami's different, but that feels so insane when like the opposite, like for like my life experience, the opposite is completely true rather
Sure.
than like I guess so
That also might be something that I say a lot, and somebody emailed me this and pointed this out, and I'd never really considered this, is that there's like a hidden little point of privilege that I've had when it comes to like evaluating housing costs and like cost of living on things when I was growing up. I've never actually tried to shop for an apartment on my own before. I've always had a partner that's always been working. It might be the case that like things are way less affordable if you're just looking on your own. I don't know what that experience is like I guess I did for a little bit after I started streaming like 10 years into it, but obviously my life is way different. But when I was when I was in like my late teens, early 20s, like my partner always worked. So everything was always like split income on all the bills and everything. So I couldn't imagine trying to find like a place to live as an individual worker. It seems like it would be way more difficult.
yeah, it's like at least for right now I live with my parents, but they charge a little bit, and I like prefer it that way. But like I'm looking for apartments outside, and like it's so expensive by myself that like it's not that I need like a girlfriend to be able to pay the bills, but it would be like everything would cut down by 50%. Like that's really nice to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think looking at like the men and women in my life, it feels like when in these like what we call it, quote unquote, high value, in the sense that like you got a lot of money, you're bringing a lot of resources. Talk to like my coworkers, and like for reference, it's in technology, but it's like not at a technology company, so the vibe is a little bit different. And it feels like every single guy that I talk to who's in a relationship is so scared of losing the girl, but girls are all very happy with their guys. And I think and you'll never find like any of these girls who are career driven at these at these companies. You'll never find a girl that has like a good personality and like that is career driven to not have a partner.
Sure.
And with that context, I guess like for advice for guys like how to find partners, 'cause I think that's what people struggle with a lot is the where do you even put yourself out there? It feels like dating apps, like depending on the guy, doesn't necessarily work out. And then there's like the bar scene, but let's say people aren't drinkers. People maybe don't like the bar scene, or they aren't drinkers. Like I feel like for guys, that's like the hardest challenge. Like where do you even put yourself out, like to meet people?
Yeah, I don't know. That's always what I've said is like the most difficult part. But like for me, like school and work were the easy parts because you're forced to be around women and they're forced to be around you, so it's easy to build relationships in those settings. But past that, I don't know.
Yeah,
Volunteering, politics, maybe. Yeah.
Depending on work, I feel like white collar work is harder to be able to date now, just because it feels like there's so many weird like HR rules. You don't really want to mess with that. At least for me, I found way more satisfaction in the friendships I built with women in that type of work than like actual dating. But it's just because there's so many rules and you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know if you're gonna lose your job or not. So there's always it's always a risk. So why even mess with that risk? That's why it's so hard to at least date in that type of sphere of work.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Another thing, it's been a little while. So it's funny, I'm the person who links all the Courtney Ryan videos. And I used to, funny enough, I used to be a really fan of hers. I'm becoming a fan again because like, if I were to, she's sort of like my Nico in the sense that she sort of fell down a little bit of a rabbit hole, because I think she generally tries to make all her videos based off of like what she believes the truth to be.
Sure. Wait. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. Give me like 1 minute. Okay, sorry, go ahead. Oh, you said
Uh,
Courtney Ryan is like your sneaker or whatever.
Yeah, in the sense that like if you watch her old, like I got into her because of her older content, and it was really helpful content. Like if I were to say like some of the most helpful people in my life, at least to getting like my shit together, were like every young person watched Jordan Peterson. But then her especially her videos around like what to wear and how to present yourself are very helpful. It's just that like she has these girls on, and I don't think she did this purposely. She has these girls on where she'll ask them questions, and one time it was like, which income do you prefer? And all the girls, since they're probably all very rich, they all said like super unrealistic numbers, and that video blew up so much that for her she's like, oh, this must be what all girls are like. But in her 400 or 500 Q&A, she said like, not all girls are like this. I'm going to try to bring on more women that are not like this, and she kind of did that in that most recent video, which was really nice.
Sure.
And also she's going back to more of the self-help stuff. And I think one idea that I think is cool from her that maybe is possible to incorporate is doing a lot of IRL stuff. Like I feel like it hammers in the point. Like in this Red Pill space, I feel like everything is like anecdote after anecdote. Like this works for me, this works for me. But if you pull in like some IRL, if you try to do IRL content, like for example, what she did is that she actually used to take some subscribers and have them shop with her. It was like an IRL video, what men should wear, and she would like take a subscriber, go out shop with him to show him what good style would be, and if he has like bad style, she like shut it down, like, oh no, that's not good, men shouldn't wear that, or like that doesn't look good on men to wear. So trying to incorporate like some of your points into IRL content, I think would be very interesting.
Sure. Okay. Maybe I'll think about it. I'll take men shopping with me, and we'll all go to Zara's and we'll buy some good European clothes.
Cool. All right, I think that's everything I had.
All right. Well, hey, I love you. Be careful, buddy.